So, ladies and gentlemen, NCA and B, welcome when Rory finds out how to put his camera on.
Have I not put my camera on either? Are you kidding me on?
No, I'm not kidding you on.
Sorry, there we go. How you doing?
You've got your camera on now. So, welcome Rory Speed. It's really good to see you after all these years. Rory studied at PASP, which was then called Telford College, we were just talking a few minutes ago, about 10 years ago. And it's quite a long time ago, and then is interesting kind of career. But my first question, Rory, because we've got loads of questions from our students, and probably some from my colleague Aisling here, who's a massive Hollyoaks fan. I do have to tell you that. She's a massive Hollyoaks fan.
Brilliant.
So she's delighted you're doing it. She's not a student. I know she looks young enough to, but she's not a student. My first question is, I know that recently you've just had a new arrival in the family.
Yeah.
So how's lockdown for you? How's it been for you as a kind of new dad?
I think in general, it's actually, I hate to say it, right, but I'm kind of enjoying it. Right? It's the thought of going back to reality is quite scary. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first couple of weeks, when you'll all know when it first happened, it was what we're going to do with ourselves. And especially when you've got a sort of newborn baby, 6-month-old baby rolling around the floor, it was a bit daunting. But, you know, you just sort of take it in your stride, and it's been a ball. It's been a really good time, actually. A lot of time at home spending it with the baby, so I can't complain, to be honest.
Well, and so you're at home with your partner, who I think is also in Hollyoaks, if I'm right.
She is, yeah. We've done that dreaded thing of getting involved with somebody at work. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I think that's lovely. It's funny because we had another ex-student who you know, Neil Pendleton.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Neil met his partner on River City, so it does happen. It does happen. I think it's fairly common, especially in something like a soap, because you work closely with these people, you know, 5-6 days a week, and it's only naturally to develop a relationship with some of them. Some of them you definitely don't, right? I'm not going to lie, some of them you definitely don't. But yeah, you get the odd one, you go, that's great, and it's worked out, and we've been very lucky. So yeah, very happy. That's great. Well, listen, Rory, so you're from Cooper, I think, am I right? Cooper,
yeah, that's right.
Fife. And so you're at school. What made you want to be an actor? What was the kind of thing? Oh, woke up this morning, I want to be an actor. What happened? What was the kind of drive for you to become an actor?
I hate this question. This honestly, I think when you leave, right, in fact, even now everybody's studying, everyone will ask you, oh, what made you want to be an actor then? Because it is a strange and ridiculous trade. I don't actually know. I played a lot of football when I was younger, and I sort of packed that in. I just not fell out of love with it, but I just couldn't be bothered with the fitness of it all and all that. And I just enjoy being on the stage because I did a show when I was about 8 or 9 at school, and I played one of the baddies in it, this sort of panto villain type guy, and I got this massive applause at the end, and it was class. And I thought, I really, really enjoyed that. Now, I still get sick with nerves. So, I mean, we're going back years. Every time I go to do a show, or in fact, even I've been in this job 3-4 years now, I still get nervous before I do my scenes, right? And I often ask myself, why the hell did I put myself through this? Because I can't stand the nerves. But there is a certain enjoyment about, you know, playing somebody else and doing your bit that way and affecting other people. So it's quite handy. And that's what made me want to do it.
So did you do youth theatre or anything like that when you were young?
I didn't. No, I was never involved in anything like that. I was never a sort of a drama nerd or a drama person, to be honest. I just sort of fell on my feet, and I had a real enjoyment for it, and I developed a passion for it only through education and school. So obviously, my school had a great drama department. And you know, you'll know yourselves again, tutors and teachers, you get people you end up falling in love with and go, oh, I want to be top of that person, and they help you along the journey. And I've always been lucky with who I've had ahead of me and teaching me what to do, so it's kept me going. And again, every job I've ever done, I've been so lucky because I've been led in the right direction. So it's always helped.
Good to hear. So that takes us to college. you came to...
That's where that stopped, by the way.
Thanks, Rory. It's lovely to see you again. Tell us, what are your memories of Edinburgh College and when you were there, or Telford as it was then, and studying? What do you think that was? It was interesting for you then. What did you learn, do you think?
I think the thing, I mean, some of the guys we still speak to from the course, right? I mean, we're talking 8-9 years later, we still talk to each other, right? And it's a great place to develop, like I say, relationships with people, and they're for your life. But I remember strictly never be late, right? And I can't stress that enough in this industry. Throughout the many people I've met and people that have been on the West End, and they've all got stories of somebody they know that's been late or something like that. It sounds so tedious, right? But you don't stand a chance in an industry like this if you're willing to take the piss, essentially. That wearing all black, I mean, I've got all black on today. I dress for the occasion, right?
Well, that's great. Good for you.
And I think just the general direction in which to take you, how to develop yourself as an actor, all those things, the research you do into plays, into the local industry, it's so important knowing all that, because at the end of the day, contacts mean work. And I think it's those little things that you put in place. Like I say, they sound tedious at the time. Don't be late, wear black, do this, do that. And it's just one thing after another. But they really, really matter when you leave. Make sure you develop all your relationships now in college and do your work now. And it'll be a lot easier when you go. So
absolutely. I remember I cast Rory. I always remember I gave you this part in a play called A View from the Boundary. And I remember you thinking, I don't like this part at all. And then you absolutely shone in it. It's really, I mean, it's a kind of, it was a smashing part, and you just had to repeat lines the whole time.
I think I just said the same line over and over, so that suited me fine.
There's no nerves. I remember you going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And you were great in the part. And then you went off to Napier, and then let's just talk about what was your first job? Well, you had a job when you were at Napier, didn't you? You were the... Yeah,
I did a Doll's House with the National Theatre, and that was class. I mean, I feel like I just sort of landed on my feet, and obviously I went to the audition and things, and it was scary. You know, you're meeting Laura Donnelly, you know, the head of the casting at National Theatre, and that I felt so sick with nerves, man. It was horrible. And I walked away and I had the part, and this part was tiny. I mean, I literally appeared for about 30 seconds in the actual show, and then at sort of half time I was doing all these bits on stage, and it wasn't much, but I'm sure Scott says this a lot, there's no small parts, only small actors, right? But that stood me in good stead. To put a National Theatre credit on my CV was a pleasure, so I was quite lucky that way. And meeting all these, I mean, Lucianne McAvoy, no doubt you've maybe seen her at the Trav, or I don't know if you guys have been to the theatre much in Scotland at the moment, but Lucianne McAvoy seems to tour all the different stages in Scotland, and she's an incredible actress. So I got to work with her, and that was class. You know, I'm just sort of fresh out of college going, wow, this is mint. You know what I mean? This is so cool. And there was a lot of gossip from that show as well, so I learned a lot from that. You know, it was how to be on stage and how not to be in the rehearsal room. That had a lot of negative things around it, that show, and people leaving halfway through rehearsal processes, and you know, the show must go on at the end of the day. Cliche, but it did, and it was a good show to be a part of, and there was some really good names in it.
It's a controversial show, and you know, I mean, if you research that show, it's interesting to read. A lot of it's documented, so I won't ask you about that because that's quite a while ago. But I think that Gary's got a question which will lead into some of the questions from others. So Gary's one of my colleagues as well. I know he looks young enough to be a student, but Gary has a question. Gary.
Okay, if only. I don't quite think so. Hi, nice to meet you, Rory.
Nice to meet you.
It's a bit of a cheesy question, but I think it's useful, perhaps. Mm-hmm. If you could go back and give 18-year-old Rory one piece of advice, what would it be? If you could have the chance to go back and give 18-year-old Rory one piece of advice, what would it be?
have a bit more belief. I mean, that's even cheesier than the question, right? But have more belief, because it took me a few years, and I still say I get nervous, right? I think nerves are a good thing. I've learned that they're a very good thing because it means you care, right? So don't get on your own back if you get nervous. But have self-belief, because you're there for a reason. The casting directors and all these people you're going to be meeting, and you're going to be sick to death with nerves. They want you there. So just enjoy it. And the parts I found I got were the parts I was most relaxed to go for the audition. Because I wasn't beating myself up and I wasn't desperate. So just relax, I'd say. Relax and have some belief, I'd say, to 18-year-old me. And I think that'll stand you in good stead for anything you go to do. Be it theatre, be it work, be it life in general. So absolutely that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Soraya's got 3 questions, so you can choose one of those that you think fits in now. I think maybe your second question is pretty good for now. Soraya, where are you going?
Hi. How did you find auditioning opportunities?
In what context? Just when I left, and did I get many and things like that?
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's such a fickle thing, because you find that you might, when it rains it pours, right? And you're going, right, I've not had an audition for a few months, right? And you're going, oh God, back to the bar work, doing all this stuff. I mean, I was lucky, I loved bar work. But sometimes you go long stretches and then you start getting down in the dumps, or you get one and then you go, oh, I'd love to get this job because I want to get my teeth into something. You don't get it. I think leaving college it was so sporadic. It was so sporadic, and it still is. And again, you've just got to take each audition as it comes. I mean, you might have one now and then one 3 months from now. Don't put any more pressure on yourself. Or you might have 3 in one day. Everything now, especially what's happening in the current climate, everything now is going to be self-tapes, and that is a blessing in some ways, because I mean, you've got all the time in the world to do your material. You're not sitting in front of a scary casting director. You can just enjoy that and do that bit. God, I forgot the question. I've been chatting so much nonsense.
That's great. Now I think you've got that's great, Rory. It's okay. I'm like that all the time. Thanks a lot. Charlotte, probably that kind of ties in with your question.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hi. Nice to meet you. The question I had was, after education, how did you get into contact with agents and put yourself out there? Because I know a few people that struggled since they've left education to get themselves out there. And how did you get to your success that you are now?
Luck, just luck. I think getting agents and things, again, it's like I said earlier, and I'm sure Scott says all the time, right? Scotland essentially is a village, right? And he's not kidding on. I think when it comes to getting an agent, speak to the people that are represented by an agent. Don't just go, right, Jodie Comer is represented by that agent. I want that agent, right? Don't do that. You have to get an agent that works for you. Sometimes it's nice. It's like I say with the contacts, right? And getting your contacts in college or in uni, because that's where you're meeting the people, and that's where you're surrounded by a hub of actors. So everybody knows something different. So get together, talk about an agency that you know, or an actor that's with them, find out about them, see if that's going to work for you, check the books, note everything down. And one thing I didn't do appropriately, I don't think, especially when I was at uni, because we did a big section on this, was save every single contact you have in terms of agencies or casting directors, because people forget that, you think, oh, you need an agent to get a job. No, you need to meet a casting director. You need to see these guys, do casting workshops. You'll meet loads of other actors who'll go, oh, they're actually looking for somebody like you. So it's about keeping the ball rolling, essentially. I think that's the most important thing. Sorry. Oh, no, go on.
I think, because that Emma's got a question which I think just will take us with where you're going, Rory. Emma, do you want to just kind of just go for that, and I'll give Rory a chance to drink some water.
Okay. My chilies, but I know.
Good. Emma.
Okay. My question is, how did you find the transition from studying acting to finding your own acting jobs?
Oh, good one. That's a really good one. I don't actually know. Do you know what? It was fine because the lessons you're given, the studies you're given, the work you put in yourself stands you in such good stead for exactly how the industry is. I can't say there was a big jump or a learning curve, especially in theatre. I mean, all the work you guys are doing, it's, you know, you're 5 days a week, sometimes 9 to 5 or whatever. You're doing the work. You're working more than 90% of the population in education. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't that big a jump. But obviously, when you get on a set and things like that, if you're lucky enough to get on, it might be a short film or, you know, a one episode or something like that. There's a professionalism there on the set, and you feel like, oh, everybody knows what they're doing. But nobody actually does. Everyone's as clueless as we are, right? So you just go with it and enjoy being on set and take everything in. But like I say, you're sort of given that tuition in college and university anyway. So it was a nice transition. I felt like I'd done it for a couple of years, so it was good. I think that's what the most important thing about the training is.
I think the interesting thing, because you went from that, and then you were involved in the kind of the madness of train spotting, because not the film, but the train spotting live, which 5 of our students, one who's just graduating now, Gav, set up this company, and you were involved in that for quite a while, weren't you? Before Hollywood.
I went on to that show's been going on for years now. It feels like years. I went on to the sort of second or third reincarnation of it in London, and then we toured. And that was a mental experience. I mean, we're doing 3 shows a night to London audiences and things, and it was hard. That learning curve was something special, but I think not even for an actor, just as a human being, because you're literally given 110% every night. You start the show with a rave. It's so intense. It's you're sort of involving the audience and things. And that was a hard show to do, but it was such a success. And that was a brilliant thing to be a part of. And in fact, I was doing that. So we took a hiatus from the tour. So I think we'd finished off in Bristol or something. We took a couple of months off. And then we were going out to Australia, so that was amazing. But I got offered the Hollyoaks gig before we could go on that, and I spoke to the agent. I went, I kind of want to go to Australia with train spotting, so I'm not sure about the Hollyoaks gig. And he said, no, you have to take the Hollyoaks gig. You have to take it. That was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, Ashton and I have both seen it. I'm sure some of you guys might have seen Trainspot. We loved it, and it became an industry, and that's great. We're going to move on to Hollyoaks because there are loads of Hollyoaks related questions. But and the first one really is Eve. Are you there, Eve? Eve, or she disappeared? Eve, yeah. Do you want to ask your question, because it'll kind of lead us into it, and there were loads of questions to do with kind of television series and Hollyoaks itself.
Brilliant.
Eve, you need to unmute. We need to be able to hear you. Eve is still half asleep because Eve only woke up 10 minutes ago.
Thanks for exposing me. Thanks for that. So obviously when learning lines, you've got like a really short period of time for like screen. Do you have like any like specific techniques or like a regime you follow, or is it just kind of more like panic?
Yeah, that's a belter of a question actually, because I wasn't prepared for it when I first went in. And you know, if you're theatre trained, you know how important it is to do the work on your scripts, right? What was difficult was you were receiving lines. So you receive your episodes about a week before they start shooting. Now, bearing in mind you're given 5 episodes and all 40 pages, right? So if you're busy, you're busy. Now, when I was first given that, I was given that quite in advance of when I started, so I'd done all my work. I was really chuffed with myself, and I got there, and on my first day, and I thought somebody was having me on. So it was my first day in, and I was working with like Jamie Lomas and things, and all these people from the telly, and they changed the script, and they didn't tell me. So I turned up, and I had a 5-page duologue scene, right? So my first sort of entrance onto the screen, and it all changed. And I thought I was going to be sick, man. Like I went white, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't do this, man. I've got to do the scene in the next hour. There's no way I'm learning this. So I went upstairs and said, listen, I've not been given these amends for this scene. I don't know what's going on. And they, oh, we sent you them. And it turns out they didn't, right? And this is my first day, and I went, right, fine. So they pushed the scene back a little bit further. I got the lines down, and I did it in the one day. Now, that was very much thrown in at the deep end, and it was awful. And I would never wish it upon anybody. But these things are a regular occurrence. They send through amends. So you'll do all your work, right? All your work on your scripts. And they change them every other day. And it's a nightmare. So what you've got to do is, I remember I went on holiday for my sister's wedding. And I came back and I'd had all these episodes and I was shooting them the next day. And I was so stressed trying to learn the lines. And the guy I was working with, which was Jamie, said, Rory, stop freaking out about what you're doing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Get today out of the way, and then you get the next day out of the way, then you get the next day out of the way. Don't overthink it. And that's what you do. You take it day by day. If you've got big scenes, don't get me wrong, you look over them, you get the feel for it, all the rest of it. But if you're doing 5 and 6 scenes a day, and you've got that for 5 days, it is impossible to learn that amount in a weekend. And then, of course, they all change. So you take it day by day. And I think that's like with anything, any audition piece you're given or any monologue you're given, don't put the pressure on yourself that, I need to know this, You will know it when it gets to the audition. You will know it. Don't stress yourself over it and take it bit by bit. That's all I'd say. And that's how I go about it. And to be fair, everybody's pretty much on their lines. There's a few that are horrendous at learning their lines, right? I'm not going to lie. But it's nice being one of the people that can go, I know my stuff here. And it's just take it easy.
That's great. Heather's got another question that kind of leads on from that. Heather.
Hi.
Hello.
So I've got a couple of questions. Firstly, were you nervous to take on a role that someone else had played in the past? Like someone else had played Joel, and then also what are your plans like after Hollyoaks? Do you want to continue with TV, maybe go on to film, or do you want to go back to theatre?
You've done your research, man. That's a good question as well. Yeah, it was properly daunting, man. Like, you know, you've got somebody, and he was really successful in the part as well, Andrew Still. And obviously I Googled it to the high heavens, man. I was watching the old clips, I was doing all of that. And then it hit me, I thought, I've been recast. Why am I going to play it the same as this guy? They've completely changed the character. Why am I going to try and pull anything away? So it was interesting. And obviously when it got announced, and I mean, they bleached my hair up, right? That's not my idea. I hate it, right? I hate it with a passion. But they bleached my hair up, and I knew that, you know, this character's completely different. They've released this big press thing, and everyone's going, who is this guy? Do you know what I mean? Who's this guy? This isn't Andrew Still. So that was quite a lot to take on board, because immediately you're sort of in the public eye, and people love you or hate you for that. And at the end of the day, it's just a job. So it was scary, to be honest with you. And the second part of your question, I just want to work. Like, I think a lot of people, especially when I first got it, they went, oh, you're in Hollyoaks, so you've made it, right? I mean, nobody really watches it that I know. I love it. I don't blame them sometimes. But I just want to work. It doesn't put me on a higher level of employment when I leave, by any means. If anything, it can typecash and put you in a worse position. So I just like to take some work. Any audition I'm given, I'll go in and give 100%. And just to be seen these days is a blessing. So I think as long as I can get some work as an actor, I'll be very, very happy.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Rory. Aisling, you can you can rework your question, I'm sure, because it's got something else in it.
Hi, yeah. Heather's just nicked my question, because I wanted to know how you approached the role, knowing that Andrew Still had already played it. I don't know, what was the other part of my question?
I'll tell you in a second, Ash. I'll just have to look it up. It was. Yeah, you got it.
Yes. Oh, right. So how do you deal, I suppose, with knowing that viewers are invested in your character or your character's storyline or not? So like when Joel left the church for Cleo and then he went off with, yeah, I'm a fan, went off with Goldie. And so like, how do you deal with the public's reaction to that? Do you get approached on the street and like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite I suppose I'm quite shy in a way. So I when it first came about, it was mental. People, because I had that ridiculous blonde hair as well. You'd stick out like a sore thumb, right? But I've been so lucky. Everyone's always been so bloody nice to me. I've heard so many stories that, you know, it can put you in a tough position. People coming up to you and saying, and people think it's real life for a start. So you'll get a hard time for that. I know, honestly, you'd think though, some people come up and you're like, wow, really? And you go, oh, that's a priest from Hollyoaks. And you're like, oh, God. God, I forgot the question. What was the rest of the question there? Sorry.
Yeah, it's just how do you deal with viewers' investment or?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. You forget people watch it, and it's class because people become ludicrous, like really, really, really invested in the show. And like I say, me and Nadine have been so lucky. I think the hard bit is separating yourself from it. Now, the way soaps are, I never used to have any respect for a soap, right? I did because it's a production and all the rest of it. I can't be bothered with it, and I never really paid any attention to them. But these guys are churning out so much material every week. These actors are churning out so much material every week, and sort of getting yourself away from everything. Each storyline can repeat itself quite frequently. Now, you're pulling in new audience members every single day, so it's so repetitive. So separating yourself from that, you might want to have a particular story arc for your character, right? But it'll take 8 months to get there because they keep repeating things, they forget about it for a bit and they come back to it, and that's really difficult. And obviously because it's soap, some of the things you're doing, like, you know, like you mentioned, I left Cleo and then I went with her cousin, and you go, oh, that's soap, right? Separate yourself from that and say, this is not ridiculous, this is fine. That's the hard bit. That's the hard bit, and you've got to play every moment for real life. So, and believe it or not, some people have come up to me and said, oh yeah, that happened to me. And you go, what are you talking? Yeah, it happens in real life. It's just you think it doesn't, but it's a panto. It's panto on screen, and it's kind of special.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I'm glad you're a fan.
Thanks. Rachel's got a question that'll tie in, I think, as well, which is interesting. I like Rachel. Just send me a question. Anyone send us questions? Rachel.
Oh, hi, sorry. My question was, do you watch Hollyoaks yourself, and do you watch your scenes back that you've done, or do you find that uncomfortable and you don't like watching yourself back?
Oh, I hate it, right? I hate it. Nothing's ever changed. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate my face on screen. I go, Jesus, look at him. But if it's a big strand, if it's a big storyline strand that I've got to do, or a stunt or something like that, they're always a pleasure to watch. But I tend to do a lot of pacing around. Like I don't, I'll run up and down the stairs when I'm on the screen. So I'm going, oh God, I can't watch it. But it's you've got to put yourself through it, because as an actor, you've got to better your work, and you've got to say, what can I do different? And what was it like in that? And it's sometimes people love it. Some people love it, and I think great actors can go, right, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. It's a great thing. I struggle with it. But like I say, if it's something big, it's something emotional, and you know you've got to get it right, you do sort of watch it back. And I do. I used to laugh at Nadine, actually, because when she was on screen, she used to tell me she never watched it, right? She goes, oh, I don't watch myself, I don't like it. And she had a little sister, and at the time she was on the phone, her little sister was like, Rory, has Nadine told you that she just fast forwards all the other bits and watches herself? So that made me laugh. And Nadine's a cracking actress, and she does the same thing. She watches the big stuff and goes, right, I didn't like that, I could do that a bit differently, because the next time you approach something like that, you can maybe do it differently, or you can amp it up a little bit. It's such a particular craft, camera work as well. So.
Ryan's got a question. Ryan, are you there? I could just got a big R on you. Are you there, Ryan? Ryan's got a question about being on set. Do you want to just ask that?
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions are on set, but I'll pick one out.
Put them together.
What is the process of preparing to film a film series? And do you have like a discussion with the writers or directors about the progression or future of your character?
Good question. That's a great question as well. Yeah, like I said, it's different. I mean, if you're doing a play with a new writer or something like that, it's amazing because you work through the process and you just get there together and you chat away, and it's brilliant. You sort of evolve everything because as soon as it's on the stage, it's a different play, right? So screens are very much the same, but you've got particular things to follow. Like I said, on a soap, everything's got to be repeated. You've got to. I mean, the way they write these things is a science. They've got to include a certain amount of character names. They've got to mention a name a particular amount of times, and all these things, and they've got to tie in different story strands. So when you would like to change something, you get the writer down to set or whatever, and you try and work it that way. But really, you should be flagging it up way in advance when you first get the scripts, and that's why these amends come through, and that's why these are constantly getting changed. Because if somebody changes one thing, it changes the rest of the episode for what they're talking about and where does that fit in, and it's unbelievable. In terms of finding out about your character, yeah, you can ask for meetings or you can get called up for a meeting with either the exec producer or one of the second in charge, one of the other producers, series producers, and they'll say, right, we've got this coming up for you, or you can go up with your own ideas. You can say, okay, I've got this idea, would this work for the character? And I think it's quite important to have your own 2 cents in there because the cast's fairly large, right? And there's lots going on all the time. So if you slip under the radar, you're just sort of on the sidelines of things and stuff like that. So it's nice to put forward some ideas. So they go, oh, that guy's still there. That guy's still in there. Yeah, of course. What about that for that character? And that gets you more work itself. So it's quite handy to do that and speak to the writers, speak to the producers as and when you can, when it's necessary.
Great, thanks, Rory. That's great. Thanks. Could you? Can we now go to Jenny's got a question? Jenny Sniddle. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
Hello.
So my question is, how do you cope with self-doubt?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I do. I don't know if I do. I think any actor would probably be lying if they said they don't have it. Like I say, it's just having a bit more belief about your performance. At the end of the day, it's your representation of something. Albeit you do it, it might not come off right, but things take practice, things take work. If it doesn't work, you change it. So you've got to just go ahead, try and not self-doubt yourself, but it's the most natural thing in the world when you're putting something in front of an audience, or you're putting something in front of, a casting director. It's terrifying, especially if you're changing something. If you make a massive change in a character, you want to play, a female character as a man or something, something mad like that. Go in and own it. Go big or go home with something like that, because they want to see a confidence in that. It might be completely wrong. They might go, geez, okay, that was terrible. But she made the jump, which I believe, and there was something in that. She can act. It was the wrong thing to do in the text, but she can act. Let's see what else we can get her in. There might be another part. There's all these things. So you've got to go ahead, believe you can do it, and own it if you're going to make changes or anything like that. But like I say, it's the most natural thing in the world. So, and again, I think that means you care, which is never a bad thing.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Rory. Heather, you've got another one which I think's interesting. Heather.
Hi, yeah, me again.
Hello.
Since you're like a new dad and Nadine's like a new mum, how do you both deal with juggling work and then looking after little Reggie?
We don't, because we're in lockdown. So
no, but before the lockdown.
No, it's going to be funny because obviously we're in the same building, right? we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But we're very lucky because the studio's got a nursery in it. And they sort of work to the hours that we work, so we'll do sort of 7 till 7 or 7 to half 7. Now the baby will be in nursery for that point, but we'll just need to wait and see when we get to it. I think it's going to be more difficult when either one of us leaves the show or both of us leave, and you land a tour or you land a gig that's been shot in Hungary for 3 months. One of you has to sacrifice your professional trade to either stay at home or be the parent. So I worked with a guy who was actually on the show. God, I can't remember the name of the part he played. He come in for a few weeks. Lovely guy. Used to be in Corrie for a few years and things. And he's his missus, in fact, was in Corrie as well at some point. Now they've got this cracking relationship where they had a set of twins, and depending on who gets the job, they go and work. And it's an amazing relationship to have, where they can go, right, okay, I've just landed a 3-month tour across England. Can you stay at home with the children? Yeah, sweet. The other parent ends up getting another job, and then they just sort of work it around that way. And you've got to go where the work is, unfortunately. So when we hit that point in their careers where we're either not working or are working, we'll just need to wait and see where it goes. I mean, if we both land jobs else place, that's when it'll be difficult. Yeah, you might just have to sacrifice and see what's for the greater good there. You might have to go, right, you do your bit, I'll say I'm not able to commit to that contract, and that'll be difficult. But I'll let you know how that goes when we get to that.
Great, good. Just one of Ryan's other questions, I'm going to stick it in because is what's a typical day on the set like?
It's like a zoo. It's like a zoo. It's mental. I mean, you don't realise how many people, now this is why it's so tragic what's happening at the moment. So many people are involved in these things. And on a set, you've got your actors, you've got your camera ops, you've got your camera assistants, the people that push around the dollies and things. But Hollyoaks is renowned for having a brilliant cast and crew relationship, and the studio in general is just a pleasure to be at. Everyone gets on, and you know what? Especially when you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. I've not ever had one day where I've gone in and gone, oh, when do I finish? You know, if you're working in like retail or in a bar and you go like, oh God, this is dragging. It never drags because there's never enough time in TV. And it goes so fast each day. You're shooting 6-7 scenes a day sometimes. So that might be 3-4 pages of dialogue each scene. And it's mental, but like I say, you have to take each scene as it comes. Just don't think about the rest of the day because you'll end up losing your mind. But everyone's great. It's a pleasure to be on the set, and I'm so lucky to be where I am there. And I've learned so much. You know, I started that show, and I had no experience on a set, zero. And I'll never forget that. It was amazing learning everything about marks and little techniques about the camera and stuff like that. It's things you take for granted, but I've learned a massive amount in 3 years, and I'm still learning now all the different little bits and bobs you've got to be able to do, and it's class. So if you get the chance to be on a film set, bear in mind it might be for a day, it might be for 6 months, and it might be for 3 or 4 years, right? Take every day as it is and just soak it up, because it's class. It's really cool, and you're going to learn so much. You do one day on set and you're going to be a different actor, I can tell you that. It's amazing.
Nice. I don't know who's behind iPhone, because iPhone hasn't got a name on it, but iPhone's got a question. Who's iPhone? Who is it?
Oh, hi, sorry, it's Jenny. I thought I had my name on it, sorry.
It's all right, don't worry. It's Jenny.
I just wanted to ask what your favourite storyline has been in Hollyoaks.
Oh, see, this is the thing I was talking about earlier. I feel like all of my storylines so far have been the same. You know, leaving the church, not leaving the church, and all that. It's a bit tedious. But I think the bulimia thing, Cleo, the bulimia storyline was awesome. Like, that was so good, because I don't want to sound that I'm being rude in saying this, but with the show, because they're doing so much all the time. But when they take like a real life storyline, when they take a mental health thing or something like that, they always do it so much better than they do anything else. Now, like I say, soap is panel for screen. There's some of the things you just go, oh my God, am I saying that on screen? Am I saying that on national television? When they give you something like a bulimia storyline and they're working with charities, it's so special, man. Like you're working with people that have experienced all of these things that Cleo went through in the storyline, and just being a part of that was amazing. So I'd definitely say that one. I mean, it wasn't even my storyline really. I was definitely a part of it, but it was just class to be involved, and all the feedback from that. And like I say, half the reason you end up doing a gig like this is because you want to affect somebody or push somebody's boundaries or see what their beliefs are on something. And that was amazing because lots of people were reaching out, and people that don't watch the show, people that were going, I've never watched this show in my life before, but I've been told about this bulimia episode because I've experienced it. My daughter's gone through it. You go, whoa, that hits a nerve, man. That's pretty cool. So
it must be a great feeling, Rory. That must be lovely.
It's class. It's honestly, it's absolutely class. I mean, nobody's come out and said, oh, I'm so happy you did that storyline about going with her cousin because it's always happening to me, and it's not the same kind of thing. But when you've got a mental health thing to tackle or an illness or anything like that, it's special. And in fact, I was lucky enough to do the cancer storyline with Anna, and I remember we had to do a scene where we literally had one take at it. I had to shave the hair off, and they had this really expensive wig and all that, and there was so much pressure on that one scene. The storyline was cool, but just the one scene where you're thinking, right, I've got to shave this person's head off. Now, it felt like the realest thing ever. The set was dead because nobody was on. It was just the cameraman and us, and that never happens. And I had to shave her hair off, and it was really emotional because it'd all been leading up to that point, but you're going, bloody hell, people have to do this, man. Like, people have to do this a lot to their partners and extra, and that was quite a humbling thing as well. You're like, geez, this is some job we're doing, and if you get it right, it's the best feeling in the world, man.
Great, thanks, Rory. Laurie's got a nice one. Laurie.
Hi. Me and Gary's is like kind of similar. So mine was like, if you have a dream role, what would it be? And then Gary's is kind of like, if a role or like type of character you really like to play. So they're kind of like, yeah.
Anything that's not a priest. Anything is not a priest. For those who don't watch it, I play a priest in Hollyoaks. I love doing things. I mean, I forget because I feel I've done this, and then I was doing train spotting before, but I love character acting. I think it's the best thing. So I think to base myself on somebody, a real life person who's hopefully still here, something like an Elton John type thing or something like that. I think a real person, a real story, a success story or a tragic story. I think getting your teeth involved and working off somebody as a person and an experience is definitely the way forward for me. But I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity because it's hard to get these things. But I love doing things that I'm portraying a real life thing. So something quite intense, I think. I like dark material, so something like that.
Great, thanks. That's great. So I'm just want to see if we've got any more questions. So we're just about out of questions. Put your hand up if you've got a question. Anybody got one? Okay, Charlotte, and we'll go to Charlotte, and then I've got some quick fire questions. Charlotte.
Hi again.
Hello.
Since obviously anything you've been in like Hollyoaks and anything prior, has the actors that you've met taught you more skills and tips in acting than what you got taught in college? Do they do things that they might have learned?
I don't think it even works like that. I think everything you're learning in college and uni is absolutely what you've got to do to portray a character or be you as an actor, right? Mm-hmm. But there are things, there are techniques, and every set's different. Every theatre's different. So you've got to just adapt. And I think that's what college equips you for. You've got your sort of basis of, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to portray something, this is how I'm going to get to that end game. And sometimes it can be slightly different when you hit a set or you hit a theatre, and you just got to adapt and you do it. But at the end of the day, if it's your portrayal of something, you do you. So yeah, God, my mind, this is the first time I've spoken for this long in 9 weeks, right? So every time I'm going off on tangents and I've forgotten how to communicate with people. What was the rest of that question, sorry?
It was just that, like, if you learn anything more from any of the actors than you learned in college, really.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. Like, I've learned a lot, but it's just more, technique-based side of things, and then on screen, like, particularly, where's the camera, and just make sure you find the camera appropriately, and angles are so important in camera. I can't tell you. I mean, you look back at some stuff and you go, God almighty, did I look like that? Or why was I looking like that? And little angles are so important. So getting those things right, and there's little things like Jamie told me about this, the eye trick, where if you're looking at somebody in the eyes on screen, they're not really going to see your eyes in the camera. So you've got to look at one particular eye depending on where the camera is. So it's loads of little things like that help. And I taught myself one, actually. I'm a terrible laugher on set, right? I'm terrible at laughing.
I remember.
I've always been like that, and it's the worst, man. I just crack up all the time. So when the camera's at the back of my head, right, when I used to be laughing, so the other person was doing a bit, you can see my cheeks poking out the side of my head, right, from behind the camera. So I taught myself a trick where if the camera's on this side of my head and they're shooting this way, I smile like that. I laugh at that so they can't see my cheeks. I get away with that one. That's a belter, that. So I taught myself that. Very happy.
So, one last question. I've got a question, and is, tell us, it was always interesting, most people who worked on sets, of something funny that's happened on set. Is it a funny story about something that's happened on set? Is there anything that you can tell us, behind the scenes story that might amuse us?
Oh God, there's so many. Like, I'm just
choose one or two.
I'm renowned in the studio for being the worst for laughing, so people get me all the time. But I've not been pulled upstairs yet, to be honest. I think people get in trouble for laughing, right? It's not professional. It's not cool, right? Don't do it. There's so many things that have happened. I can't even think. It depends who you're working with. There's some people you just go, right, we're not gonna have a laugh today because this is serious business, and depending on what you're doing. But there's always people falling over. There's always people farting. Like, it's one of them. So I can't really pick a particular thing off the top of my head. I wish I'd known that, or I'd thought of something really
That's
funny.
Okay. You can have a think about it. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions now. So one word answers as far as you can, right? So
Wow.
I will just see who you are a bit more, just some quick fire questions. So, favorite food?
Chocolate.
Favorite smell?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Freshly baked cakes.
Favorite city?
Edinburgh.
Favorite actor?
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't even tell you. I don't know.
Come back to it. Favorite holiday? Best place you visited?
Mauritius.
You're scared of?
The dark.
Okay. Blur or Oasis?
I'll go Oasis. Why not?
EastEnders or Curry?
None of them. Hollyoaks. No, Corrie, because it's a bit brighter. But yeah.
River City or Take the High Road?
River City.
I thought you'd say that. Okay. So I'll come back. Favorite actor?
Oh my! I don't even know. I can't, honestly, I don't know.
Okay. Best actor you've worked with? Who do you think is the best actor you've worked with?
Oh my goodness, that's a good one as well. Probably Lucianne McAvoy. I think she's awesome. Like, I think she's class. Yeah. Lucianne.
Listen, on behalf of everybody from NCA A and B acting, from me, Gary, and Ashlyn, the massive Hollyoaks fan, and all of these guys who are big fans, thanks again. We hope that next time you're in Edinburgh and this is all over, you'll come up and visit us. It'd be lovely to see you in real life. And thanks again, Rory Speed. Let's give a big round of applause. Cheers. Thank you.
None of that. Honestly, I hope I can get there. I hope I can get in at some point and see everybody, because this is such a bizarre thing, isn't it? I'd love to get in and see everybody. And if you've got a showcase or anything on at some point, I'd love to come along. So please, Scott, invite me.
I will invite you. I would be more than happy to invite you, because you should come. Just hang on. I'm trying to take a screenshot now, but I'm having to use my phone because I have no idea how to do it. So I'm just taking one with my phone. I've done that. Great. Lovely to speak to you. See you all. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.